The views and opinions expressed on any program are those of the producers and/or the persons appearing on the program, and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of FRC Media, Bristol Community College, or the City of Fall River.
Well, that's what happens with live television, I'll tell you. Hello, and welcome to Spindle City Straight Talk. I'm CJ.
And I'm Chip.
And it's been a busy morning and a busy night, and busy since the last broadcast. A lot of things going on, and I think we're going to address a few of them. As many people probably saw last night on Channel 6, ABC, the committee to recall Mayor William Flanagan presented its first batch of petitions, approximately 2,040 of them, and they presented them to Assistant City Clerk Inez, and she sent us a receipt letter for that, by the way. And then we went up to talk to Elections Commissioner Liz Camara, and we had a conversation about what was going on regarding defaced petitions and everything else that was happening. I felt that meeting went quite well. I mean, it seemed to be a little placating, but...
Well, yeah, I think it did. I think we made our position clear. There have been more than one rumor, and actually we have information that at a meeting the mayor had yesterday with 50 of his closest supporters, maybe he's only 50 supporters, but he said that only 1 out of every 3 signatures would be approved. So that kind of smacks of some attempt to use any little item. So we made it very clear, and you know, I have the utmost confidence in Liz. She's very judicious about doing her job properly. And if they're legible, they will be counted. And if they have the accurate address in our registered voters, they will be counted. Obviously, we will appeal it if we feel that any signatures weren't done. So I think the meeting basically was good. It put everybody on notice that you know, we are serious about this, and you know, this is an action that was not taken lightly, and we are prepared to go to the finish line with this.
You know, it's very interesting, though, because that meeting that was held last night by the mayor's strategy team, campaign team, whatever you want to call it, we all have them, we know that. It was quite interesting on some of the attendees, and there was only one person from the city council there. So I don't know what message that's sending. You know, and the council was, you know, I never say no to the mayor councilor, you know, so we know who that is. And so that just makes it quite interesting. And some of the information that people have gathered for us is quite interesting as well. But I want to, you know, focus on the fact that earlier in the week, we received a threat, which allegedly came from the mayor, where 1 of 2 signatures will be certified. So 1 of 2, 1 of 3, it's the same thing, but it sounds to me like there's a little bit of question of, shall we say, transparency. I think that's a statement that just, you know, bounces off the government center.
Well, I think it is. In the newspaper article yesterday, he said that he respects what we're doing and he respects the process. However, at that meeting, our people, we got a report that an individual who is a very strong supporter of the mayor said that what they should do is something that he did supposedly, is stand near our petitioners and basically tell everybody that's signing what a great job the mayor is doing and everything else. So I'm going to tell you live on the air that if you do that, we're going to call the police, because you have every right to stand any way you want and say that the mayor's doing a great job. However, if you're interfering with our ability to exercise our right, you know, this is not going to be confrontational. We have our right to do what we're going to do, and you have your right to do what you want to do. But if you think you're going to shout our people down and stand alongside of them, well, guess what? It's not going to happen. M-E-G.
You know, it's very interesting because, you know, remember, I think you were even challenged by that person because he's an underground fighter or something.
Yeah, well, I mean, you know, I think he's living, he's living in a world that, you know, of his own creation. He lives on a street with his own name, and apparently he has a different perspective. You know, and I don't begrudge him. He has a lot of money, and apparently he doesn't care. He's willing to put up $600,000 of his own money to buy a park. What his reasons are, well, we can debate that all day. But the fact is, when you get that kind of money, you're not going to worry about tax increases. You're not going to worry about pay as you throw. You know, if you're not living on or below the poverty line, all these things that are being done become irrelevant. You know, it again says there is a tale of two cities here. You look at the people who support them; they're the people who get the contracts and get the money. And while we're on it, I have to digress. We always try to be as accurate as possible on this show.
You actually don't have to recall that.
You
don't have to recall that.
I don't?
You do not.
So now we got more.
Yep.
Okay, we're talking about the fence that's going around the King Philip Mill that we had on a report that Highland Fence got the contract and the city bought the fence because they said that we're going to buy a fence now because rather than renting them all the time. But you know, anybody that knows that complex, it stretches from Dwelly Street to Charles Street. I mean, I don't know why the city has to purchase, and they're complaining about us having an election that's going to cost a few dollars to allow the people to speak. Yet the city has now spent $55,000 to buy fence in case we need temporary fence at some other point in time. And that, to me, is kind of ridiculous.
Well, and as I said in the last show, if you drive by there, they have openings in the fence. Now, this fence is supposed to keep people out. There are no gates on those openings. You know, at least if they had gates that you close and lock, you could say, oh, okay, well, they're letting trucks and whatnot come in and out, and then they're closing them. They're not. There's no gates.
So I guess we're going to classify this as a low security fence.
It must be, yeah. You know, no security clearance necessary. Just, you know, high. You know, you don't even have to do that. You just walk in and, you know, strike your match or something. I don't know what they want to do there. Not that I'm supporting that. I'm just saying that, you know, we want security. Let's get the security, especially for $55,000.
Yeah. And again, we get back to our priorities in this community. You know, we can give pay raises out to people that are working in administration, yet we say we need pay as you throw to subsidize firefighters. You know, these are the kind of things that, you know, obviously we're upset with. And today we have a guest. Yes, last week we had City Councilor Linda Pereira.
And I guess you want to go to the hot seat.
And we have City Councilor Michael Miozza here. He's going to join us at the hot seat. And you know, I think he's been a very active city councilor. He's doing a lot of things, including the charter change. So I think we have a very interesting guest, and we'd like to give him as much time as we can to debate some issues here. So why don't we call Councilor Miozza to the hot seat? Okay. Now you're on camera. We got our heads cut off, but we're on camera.
Well, thank you for having me on, gentlemen.
Not a problem.
It's a pleasure to have you here, Councilor.
Well, I mean, the first thing I'd like to address, because yesterday on the radio, you were talking about the charter review.
Yes.
And how necessary it is if you really want change in Fall River.
Yeah.
And I do agree with you on that. I mean, I think I was one of the first people who signed your petition, actually, and I've supported this. And actually, I know that the committee to recall Mayor Flanagan has also supported this. They've taken that petition out with the petitions to recall, and they give people the option of signing one or both.
Yeah. No, and this has been something I've been working on for the last 3 years, and it came as a result of campaigning where people had said they want different changes in government. Whether the mayor serves on the school committee, whether they want ward councilors, whether they want term limits, and so on and so forth. And the only way to truly get that is to have a charter change or a charter review. Well, as I did my research, I also discovered that the city of Fall River has never had a review of our charter. Probably the only city in Massachusetts out of the 351 cities that have not had a review. We don't have a mechanism in our charter that says every 7, 10, whatever years, we'll have a review of our charter. So there was two ways I could have went and done this. One was to have special legislation put in, which would allow the mayor to appoint 9 members to a charter commission. Or the harder method, which I chose to do, which was to get nearly 10,000 signatures to have the people elect a charter commission. And if I was going to get behind any effort, that was the effort that I was going to get behind. So first, I want to thank your group for taking those petitions, for helping, because it's in my view, it's the thing that really will change how our government. If you don't like what's going on with pay-as-you-throw, fees, the property tax increases, this is the way to get balance of power. There's just too much power in the executive branch of government, and we've seen it, and we've seen recently how the council has been left out as pay-as-you-throw, out of the discussions, out of the public discussions, not just the discussions. The councilors are your voice. You did not have an opportunity. Your listening audience did not have an opportunity to weigh in on pay-as-you-throw.
Well, you know, and I think nobody could ever say you take the easy path. I'll tell you right now, nobody has ever said that about you. You know, even with this, you took the more difficult route to get a charter review, and that difficult route requires you to get 10,000 signatures, and then allows the people to vote who goes in. So you're also, you know, championing the rights of the people to have a voice.
That's the only way I would
and that's something that, you know, everything that we belong to and everything we try to do here on Spindle City Straight Talk and in public is to let the people know they have a voice. I know that the committee to recall Mayor Flanagan has turned over almost 6,000 or a little over 6,000 voter registrations, all of younger people. 6,000, excuse me, 600. Let me correct that. 600 registrations. That's a lot of voter registrations for younger people to come up.
Yeah.
All right.
And we're getting them involved, but you mentioned something I think that's very important, and the next question we want to give you, because I'm going to ask you, the mayor has said on the radio the other day, and I followed him after his commentary, he said that the city council is attempting to usurp the authority of the Board of Health. Now, as an elected official on a legislative body, I want to know what your feeling is about that statement, and also, you know, about a board that is comprised of 2 people that don't even live in this community. So, I mean, you know, as a councilor, not only is he accusing you of usurping authority, but he's also said, and other people have said, that because you don't support him, you're some type of obstructionist, and you're stopping Fall River from moving forward. I mean, I want to hear what you think about that.
Well, let me address the latter first, an obstructionist. I do not feel in any shape, way, or form that I'm an obstructionist. And how I can point to that is if you look at the first 2 years that I served with Mayor Flanagan as the mayor, and I've had this conversation with the mayor, tell me one thing that the city council did not support, one initiative that you had that the city council did not support. And this is my first 2 years, okay? Yes, did we ask hard questions? Did we put you through some hoops? That's our job, or at least that's what I believe my job is to ask the questions that you would ask if you were sitting in my seat. That's what I try to do as an elected official. I listen to people, and sometimes they give me the questions. I don't profess to be an Einstein. Sometimes the questions I get are from constituents say, hey, you need to ask about this, you need to ask about that. So that being said, so obstructionist, I don't know where that comes from. Now, if you look over the last 7 or 8 months, things have changed. Things have changed, and I'll tell you where the change came from. The change came when the mayor got intimately involved in the leadership of the city council. And I know that for a fact because I was in that discussion for leadership of the council. So I know for a fact what the mayor's involvement was. And quite frankly, the mayor should not have been involved. He should be able, as a leader, work with whatever leaders come out of the city council and work together. So that's where I think the start. You have the issue with the spending in the law department and on the 6th floor in December. January gets it, and I think this is the beginning of the eroding the relationship. to answer the first part of your question about the Board of Health, look, you're absolutely right. I believe only one of the board members lives in the city of Fall River, has a vested interest, has a business in Fall River, has property in Fall River. I cannot understand why people that are elected, and all due respect to the board, I don't want to, I'm sure that they do what they feel is right, but they were not elected to be the voice of the people, number one. They're making decisions that affect the people that live here, and some of them don't even live in our community. And I got to believe that the 2008 decision or the vote by that city council, from what I can understand, number one, excluded the Board of Health, number one. And number two, I can't believe that the council was giving up any of their power. The council has very little power as it is. I just find it hard to believe, as a councilor, and again, I wasn't there in 2008, that they were willing to give up power. And I don't know if it was how it was presented to them. I'm not sure. I got the tape. I plan to watch it this weekend in detail, because this is an issue, obviously, it's going to come in front of the council. I am going to vote to rescind the Board of Health action, because it belongs, in my view, with the people that were elected to represent the citizens of Fall River.
Well, how do you answer the mayor's statement that you need a special act of legislation to rescind their authority, and he is going to go forward anyway on October 1st?
No, I believe what's going to happen, and this is where one of the problems why I've asked for legal counsel for the city council, because we're at a disadvantage here in that regard. But I believe that the city council can and will put a resolution in that we will have this going before our ordinance committee, and we will basically trump what the mayor's put in. And then I think he's going to end up having to take legal action against the city council, is what I'm guessing is going to end up happening.
And that's the question I have.
What a shame that is.
It is.
What a shame.
And I don't understand, number one, I think I went before the council and I read you a section of a law, I believe it was Chapter 123, Section 138, which basically says even though they have a right to do some of these things, the city council did not abrogate their right to override any action. So even if you don't repeal Section 4022F, you still have the right to override these things. And as I said, you have to vote on a budget. It's money. I don't have any. My personal opinion is I don't have any problem with the Board of Health setting health regulations. But the problem is once it comes to money, as you said, you are our elected representatives, and the thing is, as you said, it's a travesty, because the law department can't represent him, because the law department works for you too. They're a city agency. They will have to recuse themselves.
Yeah.
And because if they don't recuse themselves, we have another issue. And I will tell you, and CJ and I have discussed this, we will be at the council meeting, supporting the fact that you are our elected representatives and you are answerable to us. Mm-hmm. And then if we don't like what you do, we can then take it out on you at the polls. Absolutely. And that's where we can't do that with a board. Yeah. But we will also, as taxpayers, if the council doesn't take this action, we are going to file a suit against the city because they're imposing fees and costs on a city through a board that is not duly elected. And the last time I checked, the United States is a government, and the government is based on law, and the law clearly states that you have to approve expenditures. Otherwise, why didn't the mayor bring the budget to the Board of Health?
Yeah, good point. Good point.
And he actually made comments on that. The reason why he didn't bring pay as you throw to the city council was because he knew they would vote it down. And the reason why this went to the Board of Health is because he has them in his pocket. I met with Tom Corey just before that Board of Health meeting, and I said, you do realize that if you pass this, either the city council or there are going to be 10 taxpayers who file a lawsuit. He says, it's already done. So go file your lawsuit. Mm-hmm. Okay, so what was the public hearing for? So the mayor could go on the radio and say they had public input, the city council had their input, and they still voted for it. But very interestingly enough, one of the board members was absent because he wasn't going to get into the storm. He wasn't going to get into the storm. Well,
while we're on this, we're gonna give you a question that's a little hypothetical right now. What if in October, when we have the $3.5 million bill in the school department, and what if the pay-as-you-throw does not get as much money as we think it does. Your position as a city councilor, the mayor's only alternative will be to bring back to you more fees and more hidden taxes to make up those deficits. Because, you know, and as a councilor sitting here right now, if that's brought before you, piled upon the last budget where capital outlay projects were not put into a budget that was presented to you yet after the fact, you come in with a and this is one of the only communities that I see that does this, because I looked at Newton's budget, and I see a budget that's, when you look at it, it says past year, and it gives everything they did, and then they tell you about what the next year is, and they have every capital outlay project factored into their budget. Where this city, it seems, you guys get a budget, and then after the budget, they come in, oh, we got to build a building. He's got a $51 million, the panacea for everything that's going in front of you, that's got all kinds of projects that I feel should have been in the budget. So my question to you is, if in fact we run short again, which I really believe we will, you know, what is going to be your position on him saying, look, and he, by the way, on the radio said, and I don't have the quote with me, but I have it in my briefcase, he basically said, and I'm paraphrasing, we have to make a choice between continuing to pay our way, in other words, tax, that's code for taxing the people, or cut services. Because again, we are being held hostage saying, if you don't let us continue to raise your taxes till we bankrupt the city, we will cut police and fire. We won't cut anybody in City Hall. So I want to know that, look, when they come before you, what are you going to do?
Well, a couple of things there. First, you did say it was hypothetical. So, and the reason I make that point is because you basically was asking me, what am I going to do about raising taxes and fees? He hasn't come to us for the last two issues. Yeah. So that is hypothetical. So I don't know where that would even come from.
It is hypothetical.
That's true.
You know, so that point.
Good point. Very good point.
Secondly, when you say raising taxes or cutting services, we did cut services. Yeah. We cut our fire department from 232 to 175. Yeah. So there were cuts. Were the cuts, in my view, fair? I think they could have been more across the board, but it is what it is. So to answer your question, where do you get the revenue? Because I agree with you. Now we find that we were talking about $2 million. Then it crept up to $2.5 million. Now it's almost, I think, $3.5 million. Maybe
$3.5 million.
Maybe closer to $4 million.
By the time we get there.
We don't have it. They said they were only thinking that we were going to be able to certify $3 million worth of free cash. So we got that issue. Then the other issue that you mentioned was pay as you throw, the revenue. Is that projection going to be accurate? Now, if you caught the last city council meeting, Kathy Ann Vivera sat there through the capital improvement project and said, just kind of matter-of-factly, the DOR did their audit and everything is good. And then moved on. I don't know if you caught that.
Yep.
I put a resolution in to have the DOR come in front of us. And I'm not doubting, but that was just news to me that they had been in, and now they're saying that I guess the projections are good. Well, I want to question them. I want to see the data. I want to see the information, because that's one of the questions why I've been concerned about the 3.5. I've been beating that drum. I think that people that are privatizing are cutting into that. So what am I going to do? I don't know what would be in front of us, so it's kind of hard for me to say, but I can't believe that I would be in support of another fee, another tax on this community.
Well, you know, according to the audit of what this audit is, I called DOR, and my sources at DOR told me exactly what a pro forma audit is. A pro forma audit is this. This is what we plan to spend, this is what we spent, and this is how much was left over or over budget. That's it. And as long as all the numbers meet, it's fine. It's good. It doesn't have anything to do with how far in debt we are, how can we support that debt. It doesn't. And we're $750 million in debt.
Yeah.
$750 million. Okay, we're not million people, billion. How can a city like Fall River, with an unemployment rate the way it is, but the mayor keeps saying the economy is getting better, I don't see it around the Fall River, say that we can afford $750 million in debt?
Yeah. Well, there was two audits that the city council asked for, and I believe the mayor agreed to. One was the DOR pro forma. The other one was to have Suzanne Bump's team come in. I believe he agreed to both of those. So I don't know where the ladder is. So to your point, if that audit is not sufficient, because what I want to know is what foundation, how stable is that $3.5 million?
Well, from what I
Because that
understand-
crumbles the whole budget from there.
Yeah, from what I understand from comments made by Kathy Ann, she's only said the pro forma audit that was requested by the city council, not requesting any other,
Yeah, well-
has been, approved or has been completed. Nowhere did she say anything about the other one.
Right.
Now, that creates its own problem in and of itself. The city does not want to be audited. An audit was done at one time several years ago. Chip can speak to that very clearly, and it proved the city in shambles. We know that.
Yeah, what we did prove, and you and I have had this conversation on numerous occasions, the fact is that this city needs a forensic audit. Every single audit that we're talking about is basically not really an audit. It's a what they call a recreation, and we had the city auditor and the independent auditor for the city both testified to that under oath when we sued the city and brought in Ernst & Young to do a forensic audit. And the fact is that these audits always come out okay because they work on the numbers that the city gives them. But I don't have to tell you how many times we have proven that this city's numbers are totally inaccurate. And the thing is, the audit, these types of audits are always based on the numbers provided by the city. We need, as we did, to get an independent auditor in here to go down and get into every single account, make sure that every single number that they gave them is accurate, which is what we proved back in '91 when we had Ernst & Young do the city, that the city's numbers were absolutely wrong and misplaced money, and they continue to do this. And this is the problem that we have. And the reality is, this city is never going to be, this is why I supported going into receivership, getting somebody to come in here and start from zero, a zero-based budget. But the reality is that we are in serious financial trouble. And I know you supported the budget, and you and I had a discussion about that. You know that I didn't.
I reluctantly supported.
You reluctantly supported the budget.
And let me just say that. If I had not voted for the budget, that does not put us into receivership.
Yeah.
I know that's a thought out there, but that does not. What that puts us in my view, is chaos. I could not take that vote. So I know some people said that if you don't vote for the budget, it's going to be, that's not how receivership works, just because I didn't vote for the budget. We may end up getting there, but I just could not at that point. I asked for concessions. I said there was some fat. We got some concessions. We got the audits that we asked for. So at the end of the day, I was like, can I take a vote to put this city in crisis? And 7 of my other colleagues agreed. I think I was consistent. There was a lot about that budget I didn't like. I initially said I wouldn't vote for a budget that had did not have 200 firemen in. They went and negotiated a deal with the mayor, which, quite frankly, I wasn't too happy about, because I was ready to go to war on that issue. I was ready to take the war. So I just want everybody to know that's why I voted for the budget, because I could not vote to put the city in, and it wasn't going to get us into receivership.
And I respect that position, and respectfully, obviously, we've had this. I disagree, because I think that it's not. But I will, I want to commend you. You take your positions, you research your positions, and you
defend them.
And I think you have been an admirable counselor.
Thank you.
And as we can tell everybody out there, you can disagree with somebody on one issue, but you have to look at their overall record. And I think your overall record has shown that you are a representative of the people.
Thank you for watching Spindle City Straight Talk. Join us again.